a dark winter, and he has
It's going to be a dark winter, buddy.
prospect. There's going to
Um,
be a vaccine available for the
Still no
majority of
sound?
American people before the middle of next year.
Okay, you guys hear me now? So I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with this. It's hearing them talk about the coronavirus is a little difficult. It's interesting to hear the president talk about a vaccine coming in a few weeks. Don't put too much on that. He didn't say everyone will get it in a few weeks.
I should have,
Yeah. So, what do you guys think so far? What do you are you listening to this debate?
many months behind me.
I mean,
And frankly, he ran
I don't know what to make of it yet. Anybody's. I mean,
it was a total disaster, far less than we thought.
I think President Trump is now talking about the H1N1, which I had, which was awful. A dark winter, Belle of the Bayou. Yes, there's gonna be a dark winter ahead. Apparently, persuasion experts, according to Scott Adams, I think the word "dark" is very effective against President Trump. So you'll probably hear the word "dark" over and over again tonight. That's my prediction. Yeah, KLM, same old stuff. Nothing surprising. Anybody have any questions or comments so far? Let me just. So now, what are we talking about back behind me?
That's what we've done. We've done all of it. But he was way behind us.
Vice President Biden, your response.
Our response is he is xenophobic, but not because he shut down access from China. And he did it late after 40 countries had already done that. In addition to that,
So we just got the back and forth. Who's got the better ability to respond to a virus that really nobody knows how to respond to. So I'm not sure this is going to be a very useful conversation between these two. But I know that's where the press likes drilling in on this. Yep, they seem pretty well. Josh says they seem pretty well behaved so far. We'll see how long it lasts. We'll see. I will say so far it feels like Biden has been more cohesive, more complete in the question, actually in sort of a logical answer to the questions rather than sort of rambling. Too stressed out, Beth, to listen to it? Well, anything in the FDA approval of remdesivir, we talked about that in the earlier stream I did. I'm sorry you're just joining us now. The 3 studies that they based the FDA approval on are very compelling. Now, I know there's a lot of other questionable data out there in the international literature, but it's the 3 studies they used to give the approval were quite impressive. Significant reductions in hospitalizations and complications. So it's the bottom line they saw.
In the basement or in a beautiful room in the White House and go away for a year and a half until it disappears. I can't do that. And because every meeting I had.
Daryl, you're saying Biden won't shut things down again. I hope you're right. I like what he said when he said he was going to give national guidelines, because then hopefully my state, California, will listen to those national guidelines. Obviously, they wouldn't listen to Trump guidelines, but they might listen to Biden guidelines.
You catch it. And, I caught it. I learned a lot. Great doctors, great hospitals. And now I recovered. 99.9.
This is true what he's saying.
People recover. 99% of people recover.
That's true.
We have to recover. We can't close up our nation. We have to open our schools.
I'm in quarantine. We're in quarantine because I'm doing a project for MTV next week, and they want me in an apartment for a week, testing every other day. So.
With COVID-19 and can pass it. But President Biden, I want to talk broadly about strategy, though.
They're still doing COVID.
Number one, he says that we're learning.
Bonnie, I'm not quite what you're talking about.
We're learning to die with.
We're not talking about politics, Bonnie, which is just fascinating. We're talking about these guys' response to COVID.
Try to touch their habit where their wife or husband was is gone. Learning to live with it. Come on.
Who wants to be sick? What's that diamond?
Because
What's that all about?
You said it's dangerous. When's the last time? Is it really dangerous still? Are we dangerous? You tell the people it's dangerous now. What should they do about the danger? And you say, I take no responsibility.
Wants Bonnie to go. Recovery doesn't mean I are cured. Diamond, I'm not sure what you mean by that.
It came here. It's China's fault. And you know what? It's not Joe's fault that it came here either. It's China's fault. They kept it from going.
So far they seem to be a little more
but they didn't keep it from coming out.
Presidential in their approaches. It's less of a WWE match.
When we knew it was coming, when it hit, what happened? What did the president say? He said, "Don't worry, it's going to go away."
Tom Cigar, you're saying Biden seems to think he can cure it. I think this is politicking more than anything.
He was kidding when he said that. A lot of people thought it was serious.
So
a whole range of things the president has said. Even today, he thinks we are in control.
TT, that's not fair to Biden. He's saying he nods out or turns his head down. No. That's not fair.
Just to finish this.
Is it safe to make regular doctors
When I
for
close,
physical? Yeah, absolutely. The medical
said,
system,
"I
you can be
should've
safe.
closed."
Do not put things
And I
off.
don't
If
know
you
for
need screening
months
done,
when
do it.
Nancy Pelosi said
That's one of the more
same thing.
serious
She
things we're
was
seeing is
dancing in
people
the
putting
streets
things
in
off
Chinatown in San Francisco.
as opposed to coming in and
When
getting
I
their
closed,
screening
he
done.
said,
And that is
"This is
having a
terrible
really serious
for you, xenophobic."
effect.
I think he called me racist even, and because I was closing it to China.
The
Now
military
he
are
says I
better
should've
distribution
closed it
panels than the
earlier.
healthcare system. Yes,
It
Jane,
just don't- it doesn't
I
matter.
know that
Say
several
either
companies are
goes
gearing
to
up to distribute. It's a
research,
massive
or
distribution
stimulated.
issue. So yes, the
Talked
military
about
is the only thing really
xenophobia
set
in a
up to do
different
that kind of
context.
thing.
It wasn't about
And to do it quickly. I mean, if we were going to take a year or two to do it, then the medical system could do it.
I want to talk about both of your different.
Ashley, Trump does seem more
He
calm.
thought I shouldn't have closed the border.
Well, let's-
That's obvious.
I don't really care
your
about,
response to that, President?
now what is that?
Let's talk about your different.
So that
strategies
is
for dealing with this.
K.
Mr.
Droop.
President, you suggested
Susan
you would
K.
support
Droop.
new shutdowns if scientists recommended it. What do you think of Americans who are
Yeah.
fearful that the cost of shutdown?
Yeah, give me a little more, K. Droop, on what your issue is.
Depression, domestic and substance abuse outweighs the risk of exposure to virus.
What I
Susan?
would say is, I'm gonna
K.
shut
Droop.
down the virus, not the country. It's his ineptitude that caused
No.
caused the country to have to shut
Doesn't that
down
name
for
sound
a large
familiar to you?
part. Why businesses have gone under,
Susan?
why schools are closed.
Doesn't
why
that name
so
sound
many
familiar
people
to you?
have lost their living, and why they're concerned. Those other concerns are real. That's why
Now
he should have been
I know. I tried to get this name is taken. I tried to get her to do this. I wanted to have the camera going that way and us sitting in bed. Wouldn't that be better?
What to do
Yeah, I think that'd be
about
better.
the acts they were passing for billions of dollars to make sure people had the capacity.
But you haven't ruled out more shutdowns.
Well, no, I'm not shutting down the net, but there are, look, you need standards. The standard is if you have a reproduction.
That's
rate in
interesting,
the
Jackie, that
community
people are
that's
afraid to come
above a
in
certain
because
level,
of some
everybody
little
says,
local
slow
surges.
up.
A local surge does make sense. You might want to put things off a week or two if you can before it gets under
Do not
control.
open gymnasium. Do not open until you get this under control, under more control. But when you do open, give the people the capacity to be able to open and have the capacity to do it safely. For
See, I'm not sure
example,
this is working. I think this is
schools,
too
they need
distracting
to
behind
they
me.
need to
Thanks,
build
Elena.
ventilation systems.
Susan,
They
I
need
think
smaller classes.
if
More
if we're not
teachers,
if
more
not going to do a
pods.
pillow talk, which is what they're asking
At
for,
least up to now.
Susan,
Let's talk about school presidents.
I'm not sure we can do much here. What's that?
Can you listen and is it too much?
I can, but I'll have to listen for like 5 minutes before I say anything because they're just, you know.
You look at Pennsylvania, North
So,
Carolina, Democrats.
what did you think when we opened like their debate on?
I talked about that. Yeah, I thought they were not. It was just frustrating to hear them talk about the coronavirus when they're not really saying much meaningful. We've already sort of viewed the important coronavirus stuff this evening.
By the time I spoke to the doctor the second time, he was fine. It just
Raven likes how it's set up, so
Don't let Kate Drew, her name's Kate Drew,
Boston became the latest.
I don't think it's a relation, but I blocked it.
oh, I wanted to hear from him.
What is your message to
I didn't want to be blocked.
with sending their
You didn't want to block it?
No, I wanted to engage him.
the transmittal rate to the teachers is very small. But I want to open the schools. We have to open our country. We're not
See, this all seems like very softball stuff to me. You know, everybody just sort of
This is a
saying the obvious at this point.
country with a massive economy. People are losing their jobs.
Well, this is
They're
important
committing
stuff, of course.
suicide.
That the WHO has come out and said, do not lock down because lockdown just makes poor people poorer. That's
There's
it, period.
abuse, tremendous abuse. We have to open our country.
Yeah, Amanda, lots of talk, little substance. I think I agree.
Cannot be worse than the problem itself. And that's what's happening. And he wants to close down, he'll close down.
Hamill, what topics should they hit on? I wish they talk about international relations. They've not talked about that at all in any of these debates. That would be nice to hear about. JB, I don't see any signs that Mr. Biden is on amphetamines. I do not see that at all.
But would they need resources to open? You need to be able to, for example, if you're going to open a business, have social distancing within the business. You need to have, if you have a restaurant, you need to have plexiglass dividers so people cannot infect one another. You need to be in a position where you can take testing rapidly and know whether a person.
Tom Scars, yes, we need not to lock down. Lockdown appears to be a very serious mistake. Now, how we open is what the question is. So I'm not entirely clear on that.
We're going to make sure we open safely. And by the way, all you teachers out there, not that many of you are going to die, so don't worry about it. So don't worry about it. Come on.
President Trump. let me
Come on,
follow
man.
up with
That's
one more
a classic Joe Biden there. Come on, man.
It's happened in New York. It's a
I do think there's going to be a fight over the election results, Josh. I do.
Instead of dying, these are businesses.
They're both saying the obvious, Alyssa says. I agree with you.
Plexiglass is unbelievably expensive, and it's not the answer. I mean, you're going to sit there in a cubicle.
I don't know when I'm going to sing the national anthem for the Dodgers. Probably next season, I suppose.
Joe, you can't do that to people. You just can't. Take a look at New York and what's happened to my wonderful city for.
I'm here in New York
so
right
many
now.
years. I loved it. It was vibrant. It's dying. Everyone's leaving New York.
Yep.
Take a look at what New York has done in terms of turning the curve down in terms of the number of people dying. And I don't look at this in terms of the way he does. Blue states and red states. They're all the United States.
Fauci said in 2008, masks caused a lot of illness. Yeah, he was very against the mask from the beginning, but then he was convinced by data of otherwise. And that's part of being a clinician. You look at the data, and that's what you do. Who looks healthier? They both look pretty good tonight, I got to say. They look better than usual. New York right here, right now. Try it out. That's where I am. Thank you, One Fat Ninja.
It's been out there since the beginning of
I don't know why they're so clear it's going to be a lot of platitudes around coronavirus. I don't see this going
That's normal.
in a
The
debate.
last debate was a shit show.
Yes, the last one was abnormal. Let me look back at some of the data here. You guys are quoting data.
Take a look at what's happening with your friend in Michigan, where her husband's the only one allowed to do anything. It's been like a prison.
California is so
Now,
down,
just ruled
but there's a little spike in death
Take a look at
today.
North Carolina. They're having spikes, and they've been closed, and they're getting killed financially. We can't let that happen, Joe. You can't let that happen. We have to open up. And we understand the disease. We have to protect our seniors. We have to protect our elderly.
I actually agree with what he's saying right now.
Especially our seniors with heart problems. And
I like to hear what
diabetes.
Vice
And
President
we
says
protect-
in
we're the
response to
best
this, because
test
that's
in the world by far.
that's a
That's why we
good
have
plan,
so
right?
many
Open up and protect the vulnerable. She's not letting him
Oh,
respond.
wait, they didn't let him respond.
I know.
Nation's best-known infectious disease expert, quote, "a disaster." You described him and other medical experts as, quote, "idiots." If you're not listening to them, who are you listening to as you fight them?
I'm listening to all of them, including Anthony. I get along very well with Anthony, but he did say, don't wear masks. He did say, as you know, this is not going to be a problem. I think he's a Democrat, but that's okay. I said, this is not going to be a problem. We are not going to have a problem.
I hope that doesn't enter into the reasoning.
I said,
Ugh.
Anthony Fauci said, and others, and many others.
Yeah, Jane, I don't know what to think
not
about
gonna-
that.
nobody
I don't know
knew.
what to think.
Nobody knew what this thing was. Nobody knew where it was coming from.
I think the media is doing a pretty good job so far. Here, Dr. B. Mason, what is it you have concerns about? I'll be happy to address them here.
This is no problem. This is gonna be-
What exactly did I attempt to sell that was snake oil?
Vice President Biden, your response quickly, and then we're going to move on to the
And that is
next
Dr.
section.
B.
response
Mason.
is that, think about what the president.
I'm happy to take you on right here.
He was told
New York did do a
this
good job.
serious virus spread in the air.
They did not do such a great job of reducing the death rate when they were in the throes of this thing.
He went on record and said to one of your colleagues.
Any view that vaccines are being particularly risky for vulnerable groups? No, they're studying all the different age groups. In fact, they just a couple of vaccines trials just expanded into the 65 plus age group, more of those patients,
In the meantime,
and
the New York Times said
it's
that, in fact,
been the
this
same
social
tolerated in all age
said
groups.
This is a really dangerous thing, and a memo out of that meeting.
Good point about the lack of foreign affairs questions, even though the virus is across the world. Yeah, I mean, the virus thing has been, I don't see them. I didn't know they weren't really going to say anything, but they're not really saying anything.
Somebody went to Wall Street. You're the one that takes all the money from Wall Street.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
Tremendous amounts of money. And every time you raise money, deals are made. I could raise so much more money as president and as somebody that knows most of those people. I could call the heads of Wall Street, the heads of every company in America. I would blow away every record, but I don't want to do that because it puts me in a bad position.
What?
And then you bring up Wall Street. You shouldn't be bringing up Wall Street because you're the one that takes the money from Wall Street, not me. I could blow away your records that like you wouldn't believe. We don't need
Yeah,
money. We don't need any
I don't know what he's getting into here, but
You gotta take money from Wall Street.
it doesn't sound,
The money that she was able.
whatever this is, it does not sound.
Contribution $43.
All right, we're going to move on to our next section,
Yeah.
which is national security. And
We don't know the real number. CDC changed how they count the testing. Yes, that's true. But I think we can look at the general trends and rely on them. Aloha, Matthew. Any increase in stomach taking B3 supplement? Shouldn't be. I've not heard of that, but almost anything can upset the stomach. So,
Voters. This question goes to you, Mr. Vice President. What would you do to bring
my daughter
anything
just
as
worked in the first 2 weeks at
records
Amazon in
to
Santa
the-
Clara and got COVID. She's 20. Is she having any symptoms, TT? Most 20-year-olds really have little or no symptoms. Most. But tell me what she's experiencing.
American elections will pay a price. They will pay a price. And it's been overwhelmingly clear this election, won't even get into the last one, this election, that Russia has been involved, China has been involved to some degree, and now we learned that.
They want the TV volume up a little bit.
Iran is involved.
What?
TV volume.
Will pay a price if I'm elected. They're interfering with American.
Well, now they're getting into a little bit of the
That's
international
what's
stuff.
going on right now. They're interfering
That's
with
good to hear.
American sovereignty. And to the best of my knowledge, I don't think the president said anything to Putin about it.
Alyssa, I agree with you. What they're doing to Fauci is sad. He still remains my guiding light.
And I don't know what he has recently said, if anything, to the Iranians. My guess is he'd probably be more outspoken with regard to the Iranians.
Yeah, Diamond, there was concern about their hands contaminating your face. That's why Fauci was against masks, but it turns out that's not happening from COVID. It could happen from influenza, but not COVID.
What is happening with his buddy, well,
Thank you,
actually,
Lisa.
oh, I will. His buddy, Rudy Giuliani, he's being used as a Russian pawn. He's being fed information that is Russian, that is not true.
Oh, so now they're
And
going to
then
bring
what
up the
happens?
Hunter
Nothing
Biden stuff.
happens. And then you
It's gonna
find
get
out
weird.
that everything that's going on here about Russia is wanting to make sure.
Why no
that
political
I do
leaders
not
saying go
get
for a walk,
elected
get
the next
sun,
president
eat
of the United States
vitamin D,
because
vitamin
they
C, and
know
zinc
I
daily?
know them,
It's a good
and
question, JB. They should
know
be. You're
me.
absolutely right.
I don't understand why this president is unwilling
Good
to
for you,
take out
Kevin.
Putin
Flu shot today.
when
Well
he's
done.
actually
HPV
paying
vaccine, even
bounties to
better.
kill American soldiers in Afghanistan. When he's engaged in
Where's the next
activities that
Austin,
are
Texas going to be,
trying
Mark?
destabilize
Probably
all of
Nashville.
NATO.
That's my
I
bet.
don't know why he doesn't do it, but it's worth
Yeah,
asking the
here,
question.
TC,
Why isn't
TC,
that
you're
being
right.
done? Any country that interferes with us will, in fact, pay a price.
I think it's smart of him to
because
bring it up
affecting our
ahead before it becomes some weird
Same question
allegation.
to you. Let me ask the question.
Vive la Russia Revolution.
For 2 elections in a row now, there has been substantial interference from foreign adversaries. What would you do in your next term to put an end to this? 2 minutes.
Well, let me respond to the first part as Joe answered. Joe got $3.5 million from Russia, and it came through Putin because he was very friendly with the former mayor of Moscow. And was the mayor
Tom
of
Cigar, I
Moscow's wife.
feel
And
sad during
he
these.
got
Just I feel
$3.5
stressed during
million.
these debates. I'm about
Your family
sad,
got
but stressed.
$3.5 million. And,
TT, I think fever and headache are the worst. As long as she just stays with fever and headache and body aches, and it goes no more than about 3 to 5 days, you're doing great. But if she starts getting a lot of cough or any shortness of breath, anything like that, then you ought to have you got to get an oxygen monitor for her and keep an eye on that. And if it gets down into the 80s, you should talk to your doctor immediately.
Because there's
So-
been nobody tougher than Russia. Between the sanctions, nobody tougher than me on Russia. Between the sanctions.
The thousands of grocery
between
stores mean
all
COVID
what
gets
I've
spread
done
there
here,
even
I've
with
got the NATO
masks.
countries to put up
BPR,
an
that's
extra
probably true.
130
It gets 85% of people that get
420
COVID say they wear
billion
masks
a year.
religiously.
That's to guard
So-
against Russia. I sold, while he was selling pillows and sheets, I sold tank busters to Ukraine. There has been nobody tougher on Russia than Donald Trump. And I'll tell you, they were so bad. They took over the submarine port. You remember that very well. During your term, during you and Barack Obama, they took over a big part of what should have been Ukraine. You handed it to them, but you were getting a lot of
Crimea.
money from
This is the
Russia.
Crimea
They were
thing.
paying you a lot of money, and they probably still are.
So
But
now they're-
with what came out
so
today,
now they're-
it's even worse.
So now they're both accusing each other of taking bribes. There's no substantial evidence of any of this. So here we go into kind of.
This was happening. It should have never happened. And I think you.
I mean, the Crimea was handed over to Russia. That was a bad
Why
thing.
is it? Somebody just had a news conference a little while ago who was essentially supposed to work with you and your family. But what he said was damning. And regardless of me, I think you have to clean it up and talk to the American people. Maybe you can do it right now.
Oh,
Vice President Biden, you may respond.
Oh, my goodness.
And then I do want to follow up on the election.
I have
Diane,
not
if
taken
there's any
information
question
from
at all,
any
by all
foreign
means get her
source
tested.
ever
Why
in
not?
my life. We learned that this president.
How does
paid
climate
50
change
times the
affect how
tax
I
in
vote?
China as
That's a
secret
great
bank
question,
account
Jordan.
with China does business in China.
I'm gravely
In fact,
concerned
is
at the
talking
approach,
about
the
me
current,
taking money.
it
I'm
affects
not
my
taking a
voting in
single penny
California
from any
because I'm
country
gravely concerned
whatsoever, ever.
about
Number one.
the approach they're
Number
taking, which
two,
seems to be
this is the president.
extremely
I've released all of my tax returns.
faulty.
22
They
years.
refuse to help
22 years
deal
of my
with
tax
the
return. You have not
fires by
released
doing
a
proper
single
forestry
solitary
management.
year of your
That's
tax
90
return.
billion
What are
tons
you
of
hiding?
carbon put in the
Why
air
are
every
you
year,
unwilling?
as opposed to
Foreign
automobiles,
countries are
only
paying
80
you
billion.
a lot.
So
Russia's
they've got,
paying you a
I'm
lot.
very concerned about
China's
that.
paying you a lot. And your hotels and all your businesses all around the country.
Here they
All
go.
around the world.
What's the current
And
state of
China's
confidence in the
building a
voting
new
system?
road
I'm
to a
pretty,
new
California,
golf course you have
I've done it all by
overseas.
mail, and then I had a
What's going on?
feedback
Why
with
don't you
a
release your tax
website.
return? Stop
It's all been
talking about
very
it.
tight. It's been very good as far as I can tell.
So, I put my
Stay calm up
accounts
to someone you're
under
going to
audit.
take
I'm
them
gonna
on.
release them as soon as we can.
Don
I wanna do it.
9977.
I'm gonna show how successful
He didn't,
great
whoever
this
that was, didn't
company
respond.
is,
He
but
didn't,
much
he
more
didn't
important
offer
than
his,
that,
what his
people were saying
criticism was.
$750. I asked them a week
Federal
ago,
government
I
owns
said,
most of the land in California.
"What
Yeah,
about that?"
Kimberly, but we
They
do the
said, "So you
management.
prepaid
And I used to look at
tens
the
of
hills
millions
of Southern
dollars. I
California,
prepaid
and it was
tax.
crisscrossed
Tens
with
over the
fire
last
breaks.
number of
Now
years.
there are none.
Tens of
Just
millions
that,
of
that's
dollars I
a massive
prepaid.
change. Why did they
Because
stop
at
doing
some
that?
point they
Because of
think it's an
migration of
estimate,
certain
they think
mites.
I may have to
And
pay tax.
they're not
So
talking
I
about it.
already prepaid
That's
it.
why they
Yeah.
stopped doing forestry management, was concerns about certain animal populations. That's why they did that. And I remember that history. I was there. You would see just fire breaks everywhere. Now, none. I'm telling you, that is California. So.
I don't make money from China.
They do need funding, Kimberly. You can get the funding. They need to prioritize it and get the funding.
From Russia.
He pays his taxes.
You make $3.5
That's why you got
million,
a
sir.
$750
And you still
tax
gave
bill.
you, they even
I
have a
don't
statement that
I just
we have to
paid
give
the-
10%
fee.
to the big man.
You
You're
don't
the big
know.
man, I think. I don't
No.
know, maybe you know. But you're
I
the
know,
big
you
man, I
don't pay the
think.
taxes.
You sensitive to give 10% to the big man. Joe, what's that all about?
Oh, this
It's
is still the
terrible.
Hunter Biden stuff. I don't, this stuff makes me uncomfortable.
Okay, so Trump just said he prepays his
You said you
taxes.
go to your accountant.
Oh, which we
And
do too. We
I
do
don't,
too.
no, because I just pay the fee at the end of the year. So that's why he only had a $750. I'm not defending him, but he
Because
just
there are
said
a lot
that.
of people in there,
Huh.
deep down in the.
Why don't we pay our
IRS
taxes on time? I'm more concerned about that.
It was all settled until I decided to run for
Prepay
You're supposed to do that though,
I get
right?
treated very
You
badly by the
prepay your
IRS.
taxes,
Yeah.
you make a certain amount every
We
year.
had to deal
It's
all done.
ridiculous.
As soon
It's a
as we're
stupid
completed
law.
with the deal, I want to release it, but.
Diane
I paid
in Sarah says, "Hi,
millions
Susan."
and millions of dollars.
So how much is
And
our
it's
penalty
worse
for not
than
doing
that.
the prepay?
I paid it in advance. It's called prepaid your taxes. I paid it in.
I want to ask you both about questions.
They always
regarding
ask for it
your
when we have no
potential
money in the bank,
entanglements
because
and
we just
questions
paid
that
our
have been
taxes
raised
for
to
the
you.
end of
Both
the
a
year.
chance
It's
to talk
bullshit.
about this more broadly. Respond very quickly, and then I'll get to my question.
Why did he's been saying this for 4 years? Show us. Just show us. Stop
Take
playing
that
around.
rule away.
You've been saying for 4 years you're going to release your taxes. Nobody knows, Mr. President. What they do know is you're not paying your taxes, or you're paying taxes that are so low. When last time he said what he paid, he said,
Hang
I
on.
only pay that little because I'm smart. I know how to
Biden
gain
mentions
the
racist equity like it's not a negative.
So.
And President Trump, and then I want to get to two questions to both of you.
When Americans go bankrupt over COVID, will they finally realize China never closed?
For
Walmart?
3 years.
Walmart
It
never closed.
started before I even got elected.
What do the tax have to do with all this? It is sort of ridiculous, but I think people are, it's a way of attacking our candidate.
Let me just say this. Mueller and 18 angry Democrats and FBI agents all over the place
Jaslyn,
spent
I'm not quite sure, I'm not getting into politics. I'm not, this is not about being political, we're just, people asked us to do a sort of pillow talk while the debates are on. I'm not interested in the politics of
If
this.
I spend 1 million on you, Joe, I could find plenty wrong. Because the kind of things that you've done and the kind of monies that your family has taken, I mean, your brother made money in Iraq, millions of dollars. Your other brother made a fortune, and it's all through you, Joe. And they say you get some of it, and you do live very well. You have houses all over the place. You live
What's that?
very well.
All right, gentlemen, let me just ask
Yeah,
questions
this
about all
sounds-
of this broadly. Vice President Biden, there have been questions about the work your son has done
This
in
sounds
China and
awful,
for
this whole
creating
debate.
an energy company when you were vice
Yeah,
president.
JB, it was supposed to be a pillow talk,
Anything
but
about this
Susan didn't want to be on
relationship
it.
an appropriate
We could have just shown it all that
Nothing
way,
was an
that's,
ethical
you know,
business.
I
but,
can't do everything.
85%, what's that? What are you talking about,
We had this whole
PPR?
question about whether or
I'm not
not
quite sure you're talking about
Justin was on
85%, you heard
Yeah, I'll
something
get
I
a
didn't
pillow.
hear.
originally
No.
a company that somehow I had done something
Fairly
wrong.
certain Joe,
Yet every
just
single
like me,
solitary
$400,000 a
person
year,
he
that's
was
true.
going through his impeachment. testifying
by
under
somewhat
oath in
significant
Recreational,
margin.
said, I did my job impeccably. I carried out U.S. policy. Not one single solitary thing was out of line. Not a single thing. Number one. Number two, the guy who got in trouble in Ukraine was this guy trying to bribe the Ukrainian government to say something negative about me, which they would
Do I think
not
the COVID
do.
cases this
They
fall will
did
be
not
worse
do,
than
because
March?
it
No, but
never,
it could be
ever,
close to
ever
the same.
happened.
It could be.
My son has not
Could be.
made money.
What I tell you what, the
in
death
terms
rate will
of
not
this
be that
thing
high,
about,
and the hospitalization
what are you
rate,
talking about?
most of it will
China.
be the result of
I have
bringing
not
people
had-
into the
the only
hospital
guy
to
made
give them
money
these
from
good
China
treatments we
is
have.
this guy.
So we
The
used to
only
keep people
one.
out, now we
Nobody else has
encourage
made money
people
from
in.
China.
President
Never
Trump,
deal with
let
it.
me put my question to you.
But could I just, one thing?
Very quickly.
His son didn't have a job for a long time, was sadly no
Oh,
longer
you're
in the
kidding.
military service. I won't get into
My
that.
God.
And he didn't have a job. As soon as he became vice president, Burisma, not the best.
Well, I think
not
this
the best
idea might be a-
reputation in the world.
This is not the greatest
I hear they
idea,
paid him
because
$183,000 a
I'm
month.
just uncomfortable listening to all this fighting.
Not
much to say about it.
It's like
And he had no.
I've woken up twice with cramps in both calves, where I cannot walk for hours. This is a hydration issue. CJ, it's probably just sudden change in your
No
activity
one said
level.
anything he did was wrong in Ukraine.
Okay, President Trump.
Donald
thank you
Farmer,
for
I don't know what
since you
you're-
took office,
guys are
you've never
reporting
divested
here.
from your business. You've personally promoted your properties abroad. A report this week, which was referenced, does indicate that your company has a bank account in China. So how can voters know that you don't have any foreign conflicts of interest?
I had many bank accounts and they were all listed and they were all over the place. I mean, I was a businessman doing business. The bank account you're referring to, which is, everybody knows about it, it's listed. The bank account was
Pro
in
Joe, nice.
2013. That's what it was. It was.
Yeah, I
open.
agree, Elizabeth.
It was
I
closed
think
in
the moderator's doing a pretty good
2015,
job.
I believe.
Yeah.
And then I decided, because I was going to do, I was thinking about doing.
Yeah,
a
B
deal
World, I
with
think you're
China.
right. I think we ought to wrap
Millions of
this
other
up. It's
people.
not, there's not much
I was
going
thinking
on
about it,
for us.
and I
Not
decided
much for me to
I'm not
say.
gonna do it. Didn't like it. I
And,
decided not to do it. Had an account open.
One
and I
Fat
closed
Ninja,
it.
what are you thinking about, my friend?
Excuse me. And then
Importance of
when I
vitamin D for
came,
those now
where
call
he's
recovery,
vice
particularly
president
thiamine.
and he does
Particularly
business,
thiamine, and
I
particularly
then
early
decided to
when
run
you
for
stop using, or if
president
you're
after
continuing
that.
to
That
use
was
at least
before.
100 milligrams
So I
a day.
closed it before I even ran for president, let alone became president. Big difference. He is the vice president of the United States, and his son, his brother, and his other brother.
Here we go.
are
I figured that's
getting
what we're gonna
rich.
hear a lot of
They're like
today.
a vacuum cleaner. They're so.
President Trump, thank you. We do
You
not
guys really-
move on. I do want to ask you,
Bye,
Vice
Jay.
President Biden, about China. Let's talk about China more broadly.
to run before
There
noon.
have, of course, President Trump has said that they should pay for not being fully transparent in regards to the
Kimberly, you want me to
coronavirus.
hang in here
If
with
you were
this, my
president,
civic
would
duty?
you make China pay? And please be specific. What would that
TC,
be?
which Adam Carolla book
What
did
I
you
make
read?
China do
The
is play
Not
by
Talk
the
About
international
Material, or
rules,
I'm your
not like
support
he's-
animal?
He
Emotional
has
support
caused the
animal.
deficit in China to go up, not down, with China, up, not down. We have making
Ashley, I
sure
think this
that in
reporter
order
writes
to
the
do
questions.
business in
I think she
China,
doesn't
you have
account.
to give all your intellectual property, you have to have a partner.
Do
in
what
China
do I
that's
think about Joe's
51%.
62.6%
We would not do that
tax
at
rate in
all,
California?
number
I think it's going to
Number
push a
two,
lot
we're
of
in
people out of
situation where
California. A
China would
lot,
have to
even
play
more
by
than are
the
going
rules
already.
internationally as well. When
Yeah.
I met with Xi, when I was still vice president, he said we're setting up air identification zones in the South China Sea. You can't fly through them. I said, "We're
Tom
gonna
Cigar
fly
says,
through
I
them.
feel
We
like
just flew
Biden would be
B-52,
stingy with
the
opening
B-1
up. He
bombers
might be.
through it.
I
We're
like
not
what he
gonna
said
pay
earlier. He
attention.
wants to
They
come up with a
have to
national
play
policy,
by
which
the
would be
rules.
nice.
And what's
The
he
problem
do?
with Trump getting
He
rid of national
embraces
policy is the
guys
states
like
won't listen to it.
the thugs like in North Korea and the Chinese president and Putin and others, and he pokes his finger in the eye of all of our friends, all of our allies. We make up we're 25% of the world's economy. We need to be having the rest of our friends with us saying to China, these are the rules. You play by them or you're going to pay the price for not paying by them. Economically.
Yeah, AJ, that's really
the
funny what
way
you're saying
I
about
would run
California
it,
state
and that's
government.
what we did.
More than
And
money
upholding
management, of
steel
course, is
tariffs and the range of other
basic
things when we were
economics.
president and vice president.
All right, and let's talk about war.
Because their solution is the federal government just needs to print money and give it to them.
$1.5 billion from China to after spending 10 minutes in office and being in Air Force Two, number one. Number two, there's a very strong email.
Yes, I
talking
agree,
about
B-World. I
your
agree with
family
you.
wanting to make $10 million a year for introductions.
President Trump, on China policy though, what
No, but-
specifically are you going to do What specifically are you going to do to make China pay? You've said you're going
First
to
of
make
all,
them pay.
China is paying. They're paying billions and billions of dollars. I just gave $28 billion.
New sanctions?
I just gave $28 billion to our farmers.
Taxpayers' money.
Thoughts on recreational and anabolic steroids?
Taxpayers'
Mark,
money.
not a good idea. I've seen really bad outcomes with that.
China
Look at a lot of guys that were doing steroids in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. They did not last past about age 45. So just take a look at it. Now, Arnold's still with us, but and certainly plenty of people use lower dose, not big dose stuff. But it's concerning. It's still
Because they were
concerning.
killing our steel industry. We were not going to have a steel industry.
Okay.
And now we have a steel
Okay,
industry.
Vice President
Specifically
Biden, your
Diamond
response,
White.
please.
My response is, look, this isn't about, there's a reason why he's.
They're getting off the rail again a bit. The two of them.
There's a reason for it. He doesn't want to talk about the substantive issues. It's not about his family and my family. It's about your family. And your family's hurting badly. If you're making less than, if you're a middle-class family, you're getting hurt badly right now.
This is true.
You're sitting at the kitchen table this morning deciding, well, we can't get new tires, they're bald because we have to wait another month or so. Or are we going to be able to pay the mortgage? Or who's going to tell her she can't go back to community college? They're the decisions you're making. And the middle-class families like I grew up in Scranton and Claymont, they're in trouble.
Yep.
We
True.
should be talking about your families, but that's the last thing he wants to talk about.
I want
That is
to
a
talk about
typical
North Korea.
statement.
I want to turn to 10 seconds, Mr. President.
That's a
10 seconds.
typical political statement. Let's get off this China thing, and then he looks, the family, around the table, everything. Just a typical politician when I see that.
Let's talk
I'm
about
not a
North
typical
Korea.
politician.
Okay.
That's why I got elected.
That's for sure.
Let's talk
Let's
about-
get off the subject of China. Let's talk around, sitting around the table.
All right.
Come on, Joe, you can do better.
We're going to talk about North Korea now. President Trump, you've met with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un 3 times. You've talked about your beautiful letters with him. You've touted the fact that there hasn't been a war or a long-range missile test. And yet North Korea recently rolled out its biggest ever intercontinental ballistic missile and continues to develop its nuclear arsenal. Do you see that as a betrayal of the relationship?
That's a good
Of
question.
course, just 30
It's a great
seconds here
question.
because we need to get on to the next.
So when I met with Barack Obama, we sat in the White House right at the beginning, had a great conversation. It was supposed to be 15 minutes and it was well over an hour. He said the biggest problem we have with North Korea. He indicated we will be in a war with North Korea. Guess what? It would be a nuclear war. And he does have plenty of nuclear capability. In the meantime, I have a very good relationship with him. Different kind of a guy, but he probably thinks the same thing about me. We have a different kind of a relationship. We have a very good relationship, and there's no war. And you know, about 2 months ago, he broke into a certain area. They said, oh, there's going to be trouble. I said, no, they're not, because he's not going to do that. And I was right. Look, instead of being in a war where millions of people, Seoul, you know, is 25 miles away, millions and millions, 32 million people in Seoul, millions of people would be dead right now.
President
We
Trump,
don't have-
that's 30
we don't have a
seconds.
good
Thank you.
relationship.
Vice President Biden, to you, North Korea conducted 4 nuclear tests under the Obama administration. Why do you think you would be
That's
able
funny,
to
Chris.
rein in this persistent threat? right
Because
now?
I make it clear, which we were making clear to China, they had to be part of the deal, because here's I made it clear, and as a spokesperson of the administration when I went to China.
You're right,
And I
Matt
said,
Cal,
"Why are you
the
moving
China
your missile
needs to be
defense
part of
up
it."
so close? Why are you moving more forces here? Why are you continuing to do
China was
military
helping us
maneuvers
at the
with
beginning,
South
and then
Korea?
when the
I said,
trade war
because
started.
North Korea is a problem, and we're going to continue to do it so we can control them. We're going to make sure we can control them and make sure they cannot hurt us. And so if you want to do something about it, step up and help. If
Ideal
not,
means.
it's going to continue. What has he done? He's legitimized North Korea. He's talked about his good buddy who's a thug, and he talks about how we're better off. And they have much more capable missiles, able to reach U.S. territory much more easily than ever did before.
Let me follow up with you,
That's
Vice
true.
President Biden. You've said you wouldn't meet with Kim Jong-un without preconditions. Are there any conditions under which you would meet with him?
On the condition that he would agree that he would be drawing down his nuclear capacity to get the Korean Peninsula should be
Seems
nuclear
unwilling
free
to-
zone.
He was supposed
All
to
right,
do that
let's
with the
move
meeting
on
out with
to
Trump. He didn't do it.
American families.
They tried
Very
to meet
quickly,
with
10
him.
seconds,
They
President.
tried to meet with him. He wouldn't do it. He didn't like Obama. He didn't like him. He wouldn't do it.
Okay, I
know
gotta
for a
give it a
fact, they
chance to
tried.
respond to that
He
before we
wouldn't
move
do
on.
it.
You
And
know
it's
what?
okay. You know what? North Korea, we're not in a war. We have a good relationship.
wrap this
You
up.
know, people don't understand. Having a good relationship.
Right?
with-
Not much I can really say about all this. It's just a lot of politicking, a lot of
That's all we can handle.
claims and counterclaims. The COVID stuff was a little bit basic. Kimberly says I'm getting lots of hearts for doing this. Well, I mean, I just don't, I don't feel like I'm contributing very much. So I think I had to wrap it up nonetheless. And I still think if we were to do it, Susan, it would be you and me sitting in bed watching it. Susan?
Well,
That's what they're really asking for. Are a lot of people watching here? Kimberly says a lot of people watching.
I don't have two cameras and a.
Oh, you're talking about the 85%. Okay, BPR. What I said was there's a study out last week or early this week that showed that of people that got COVID, 85% said they wore masks all the time. I think it was in New England Journal. It was a major journal study. And it is, and it doesn't mean masks don't work. See, that's not what the study was showing. And that's one of the things that people were taking from that study. Like, for instance, if I had COVID, I would pray to God I did not transmit it to anybody. So wearing the mask would help me reduce that risk. I would be glad I'm wearing a mask religiously. But in terms of actually getting the virus, most of us get it in the home. That's where most of us get it, where we don't wear our masks. So that it really doesn't tell us whether masks work or not. As long as we wear masks, most of us who get it in the home. All right, you want to turn that up again a little bit, Susan, so I can hear it again? So apparently there's a big crowd watching me do this. So, which is hard for me to understand, everybody, but yeah, bad Cal, just glass it.
Not having to
Let's
pay
hear it.
for bad health insurance. I terminated it. It's gone. Now it's in court because Obamacare
Oh, this is
is no
Obamacare
good.
now.
But then I made a decision.
Let's be
run
clear,
as well
they are
as you
never
can
going to get
to
away.
my people.
Nobody's going to take away
Run it
the
as well as you
pre-existing.
can. I could have got the other rap and made everybody very unhappy. They
good
ran
idea.
it.
Nobody's going to take away the
Everything.
pre-existing
Here's the problem.
condition
No matter how
exclusion.
well
That's
you
not
run
going to
it,
go
it's
back.
no
That'll
good.
never happen.
What we'd like to do is
We just can't function.
terminate it.
Everybody's
We
got
have
pre-existing
the individual
conditions,
mandate.
and insurance companies will take
I
that to
don't
the
know how
mat
it's going to work.
if they're allowed to.
When we will have to run it, and we'll have Obamacare, but it'll be better run. But it no longer is Obamacare because without the individual
Oh my gosh!
mandate,
So he
it's
said we're going to have Obamacare, but
pre-existing
better run
conditions
Obamacare.
will always stay.
Interesting.
What I would like to do is a much better healthcare, much better, will always protect people with pre-existing.
Yeah,
So
see,
I'd like to terminate
that's what I just told
Obamacare,
you.
come up with a
And that's just not him.
beautiful
And
healthcare.
there's no
The
politician
Democrats will do it
who's going to
because
take
there'll be
away the
tremendous
pre-existing
pressure, and
condition
we
of
might even
protection.
have the House
That will
by
never
that
happen
time.
again. That
I
was
think we're going to win
horrible.
the House, okay?
Horrible,
We'll
horrible.
see, but I think we're going to win the House. But come up with a better healthcare, always
Full
protecting
face painter
people with
respirator at home.
pre-existing
I don't know what
conditions.
that
And one thing very
means.
important, we have 180 million people out there that have great private health care. Far
Okay.
more than we're talking about with Obamacare. Joe Biden is going to terminate all of those policies.
Okay.
These are people that love their health care. People that have been
Linda,
successful, middle-income
Linda Minotti
people,
asks, I wonder if you can talk without the jazz hands. That's really funny.
million plants, 180 million people, families, under what he wants to do, which will basically be socialized medicine.
Well, you guys, I got a lot of people on the way right on my screen here for sure.
We have done an incredible job of healthcare. And
We're going to finish one. Thanks for being there. Thank you, Diane.
Okay, Vice President Biden, yes, this is for you. Your healthcare plan calls for building on Obamacare. So my question is, what is your?
I don't think it was a
If
bit
the law is ruled
British. It might have been a Lancet
unconstitutional,
article, but not
you have
BMJ, I
2
don't
minutes
think.
uninterrupted.
But it was
What I
recent,
would
very
do is
recent.
Pass Obamacare with a public option to become Biden care. The public option is an option that says that
This is
if
interesting.
you in fact do not have the wherewithal to be, if you qualify for Medicaid
Uh-huh.
and you do not have the wherewithal in your state to get Medicaid, you automatically enroll, providing competition for insurance companies. That's what's going to
That's
happen.
vague, but a good
We're
idea.
going to make sure we
I like
reduce the
that.
premiums and reduce drug prices
Well,
by making sure that
That's
there's
neither here nor there.
competition
But if
that
he,
doesn't exist
essentially what he's
now,
saying is you're going to get insurance
Medicare
without having to sign up
to
for it.
negotiate
And a lot of people
drug
believe it
prices
or not,
with
don't know how to sign up for
the
insurance or won't
companies.
do it.
Thirdly, the idea that I want to eliminate
Yeah, Matthew,
private
Affordable
insurance,
Care
the
Act has helped
reason
people,
why
it
I
has.
had such a fight with 20 candidates for the nomination was I support private insurance. That's why I did not one single.
Yeah,
person
when they
private
when they
insurance
brought out
used
Obamacare,
their
they should have
insurance under my
really pitched
plan,
it as
nor
insurance
did they
reform,
under
which is a
Obamacare.
lot of what
They did
really,
not
and
lose
they
their
still need insurance
unless they
reform.
chose they
So-
wanted to go to something else. Lastly, we're gonna
Terry,
make
it's
sure
not
we're in a
just they don't
situation
feel
that
like paying
we
premiums. I can't
actually
get people to
protect
sit
pre-existing.
down and
There's no
sign
way
up
you
for
can
stuff.
protect
They
pre-existing
find it too
conditions.
confusing. It's
None,
weird.
zero.
It's really
You can't do it
something.
in the ether. He's been talking about this for a long time. He's never come up with a plan. I guess we're gonna get the pre-existing condition plan the same time we get the infrastructure plan.
Right, one fat ninja, it was hell to get Josh to sign up for
I
insurance.
still have 50 more minutes. I know you're getting anxious.
And then he's having trouble now finding somebody that accepts this. That's a big
It's
problem.
already cost the American people because of the terrible handling of the COVID virus and economic spillover. 10 million people have lost their private insurance. And he wants to take away 22 million.
Yes,
more people
PPR,
having
that is getting silly. I
Obamacare
agree with you.
And over 110 million people with pre-existing conditions. And all the people from COVID are going to have pre-existing conditions.
Okay.
What are they going to do?
I have a follow-up for you, Vice President Biden. It relates to something that President Trump said. He's accusing you of wanting socialized medicine. What do you say to people who have concerns that your health care plan, which includes...
Terry, I think you're right. A lot of people don't like to pay for something that they don't need, like insurance.
System run entirely by the government.
I
What's
say it's ridiculous. It's
Yeah,
like saying that,
so
you know,
Leopold's asking, is some of
the idea
Biden's
that
stuttering and
public
lapses in
option
logic a
people can
problem?
choose,
Not
that
for his
makes the
age.
socialist
It's just
plan
sort of
wrong.
normal.
The
Things are
difference between
slowed
the president, I
normally.
think healthcare
He
is
seems
not
to be
a
doing pretty well.
privilege, it's a right.
Yeah.
Everyone should have the right to have affordable healthcare.
Yeah.
And I am very proud of my plan. It's gotten
Yeah.
endorsed by all the major labor unions as well as
Good.
as
I'm glad
well as
Casey,
a
the
whole
VA has
range
you
of other
covered.
people who in fact are concerned in the medical field. This is something
Yeah,
that's going to save
David,
people's
I
lives.
get it.
And this
He's
is
saying
gonna
it's not
give
fun to
some
look for
people an
insurance when you've been laid off. I get it.
an
I get it.
opportunity to have
It's
health care for
scary.
their children.
It gets
How many
gets
people go to
overwhelming and
war
confusing.
rolling around in bed tonight wondering what in God's name you're going to do if you get sick because you've lost your home insurance, your health insurance, your company's gone.
What said the
We have
Atlantic
to provide
PPR?
health insurance for people.
The
at an
Atlantic?
affordable rate. And that's
Is that the
right.
Atlantic? No, I don't think it's the Atlantic.
He was there for 47 years. He didn't
What's that?
He is now there as vice president for 8 years. It's not like it was 25 years ago. It was 3 3/4. It was just a little while ago, right? Less than 4 years ago. He didn't do anything. He didn't do it. He wants socialized medicine.
TC, what are you very
It's not
disappointed
like
about?
He wants it. His vice president. She is.
I'll stay to hear whatever it is that you're
Bernie Sanders
feeling
wants
bad
it.
about.
The Democrats want it. You're going to have socialized medicine, just like you want with fracking. We're
yeah.
not going to have fracking.
Terry,
We're gonna stop
so you had
fracking.
which Obamacare did you get? You know, there's different
That's
tiers of it.
nomination. We got very lucky to get it. And he
It
goes
depends
to
what state you're in
Pennsylvania,
too.
And he says,
Some states are
We're
different.
going to have fracking. And you never asked that question. And by the way, so far, I respect very much the way you're handling this. I have to say.
By the way,
But somebody should ask the question.
You can ask-
He goes for a year.
Hmm.
There will be.
We
no
have
fracking, there
we
will
do
be
have a
no
number of,
fracking.
we have a number of topics.
No, but that's a big question.
We're gonna get to, we're gonna get to.
The same thing with socialized.
Yeah,
medicine.
the mumbling and the rambling is all
People
them
deserve
not being
to
so
have
young.
affordable health care, period. And the Biden care proposal will in fact provide for that affordable health care, lower premiums. What we're going to do is going to cost some money. It's going to cost over $750 billion. Over
McDonald's
10
Farmer, I'll
years
try to
do it.
find it for tomorrow
And then
if I
lower
can.
Premiums, you can buy into better plans, the cheaper plans, lower your premiums, deal with unexpected billing, and have your drug prices.
Terry,
drop
you're in
significantly.
Pennsylvania.
He keeps
That's
talking
a
about
good.
it. He hasn't
That state had
done
really good
a thing
policies.
for anybody on healthcare. Not a thing.
Just that when he
Very quickly,
says,
then I wanna talk
when
about
he
the
says
capital
public
on Capitol
option,
Hill.
he's talking about socialized medicine. And when he, and healthcare, when he talks about a public option, he's talking about destroying your Medicare, totally destroying, and destroying your Social Security. And this whole country will go down. You know,
Jenna wants me to
Bernie
live
Sanders
stream the nightly news.
In the state. He's in the state. His governor is a very liberal governor. They want to make it work.
No, George Clark, he is definitely no longer on steroids. You wouldn't keep on dexamethasone for a long period of time. And plus his face would swell up like a balloon
I beat
if he was still
all
on
those other
that.
people because I disagreed with them. Joe Biden is running against. And the idea
This
that
is-
we're in a
I
situation
like what Joe
that
Biden's saying right now.
Medicare, this is the guy that the actuary at Medicare said, if in fact, at Social Security, if in fact he continues to.
How did the ACA affect doctors? It just made things more confusing, and they added all kinds of bureaucratic layers that make medicine even more impossible to practice.
With no
So,
way to make up.
I mean,
for it.
primary care is
This the guy who's
just
trying to
eviscerated
cut
by all this
Medicare. So,
bureaucracy.
no, I mean, the idea that Donald Trump is lecturing me on Social Security and Medicare, come on.
Come on,
He
man.
tried to get.
That's classic Joe Biden.
Years ago.
People are saying that pupils are big. You saw that too? Mr. Biden's pupils are big?
Let's move on. Let's move on. Let's move on to the next
No, the
question.
pupils are completely normal. Completely normal.
If he's elected.
Completely
the stock
normal
market
pupils.
will crash.
Okay, let's move on to the next
Say.
question very quickly.
Look, The idea that the stock market is booming is his only measure of what's happening. Where I come from in Scranton and Claremont, the people don't live off of the stock market. Just in the last three years during this crisis, the billionaires in this country made, according
Sally,
to
maybe.
Wall Street, $700 billion.
The problem with giving the
more
government money is
$700
they
billion more
are the
dollars.
least able to
Because
spend it
that's his only
effectively.
measure.
They
What
do the
happens
best
to
job.
the ordinary people out there? What happens to them?
Let's talk about move on.
No, I'd like to kind of wrap it up. It's fatiguing me hearing these guys yell behind me. It's been an hour we've been doing this. I mean, it's just, my batteries are low, George.
Let me move on to my
Did Segura show you the video of Biden farting on camera? No, but I will ask him of that when I guess I will have some press cam.
And more families are going hungry every
What about
day.
50 Cent? Ashley, that 50 Cent thing, yes, please. What 50% responded to was that 62% tax, which is really California. That's the
Because
problem.
Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve it. I do.
But you're the president.
I do, but I still have to get it. Unfortunately, that's one of the reasons I think we're going to take over the House because of her. Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve anything because she'd love to have some victories on a date called November 3rd. Nancy Pelosi does not
you.
want to approve it. We are ready, willing, and able to do something.
Oh, look who's
Don't
here.
forget, we've already
Good.
approved
You want to keep
three
me going?
plans, and it's gone through, including the Democrats, in all fairness. This one she doesn't want. It's near the election.
Susan
because
doesn't
she
want me
thinks
to
it helps her
stop.
Politically. I think it hurts her politically.
All right, Mr. Vice President.
You know, the Republican leader in the United States Senate said he can't
Cole, what
pass-
are you saying about
he will
50%?
not
New York,
be
New
able
Jersey,
to
what's about
He does
50%?
not have Republican votes. Why isn't he talking to his Republican friends?
Let me follow up with you, Vice
Oh,
President.
Ashley wants to hear from Susan.
Let me ask Vice President Biden a question. You are the leader of the Democratic Party. Why have you not pushed the Democrats to get a deal for the American people?
They have pushed it. Look, they passed this act all the way back.
Dylan, yeah, it kicks in at like something like a combined, but it's for couples. So if each couple makes $200,000, that 63% kicks in.
No.
When I was in charge of Kentucky,
Combined
I
household.
$100 billion.
And in California, if you're
$45 billion
No.
for local communities.
in California, it's really hard to live unless you're making a lot of money. It's one of the things that people are understanding now.
Teachers, first responders, law enforcement officers, so they can keep their cities and counties running. He will not support
Okay, maybe
that.
BPR ought to
They
look
have
for it.
not done a thing for them. And Mitch McConnell said, let him go bankrupt.
Okay.
Let him go bankrupt.
Google.
Come on.
Come on,
The
man.
bill that was passed in the House was a bailout of badly run, high crime, Democrat, all run by Democrats, cities and states. It was a way of getting a lot of money, billions and billions of dollars to these states. It was also a way of getting a lot of money from our people's pockets to
Let's see.
people that come into our country illegally. We were going to take care of everything for them. And what that does, and I'd love to do that, I'd love to help them, but what that does, everybody all over the world will start pouring into our country. We can't do it. This was a way of taking care of
I'm looking at the
them.
mass data
This
here.
was a way of spending on things that had nothing to do with COVID.
What are you
as
looking
to
at?
your question.
I was trying to find
But
this
it was
study
really
I
a
was
big
quoting
bailout for
about how the vast
badly
majority of
run
mask
Democrat
wearers
cities and
still
states.
get, the people get COVID and we're wearing
I'm
masks
running as
quite
proud
religiously.
Democrat, but I'm going to be an American president. I don't see red states and blue states. What I see is American, United States. And folks, every single state out there finds themselves in trouble. They're going to start laying off, whether they're
somebody
red
says
or
folks,
blue.
it makes me very
Cops,
uncomfortable.
firefighters, first responders, because teachers, because they have to balance their budget. And the founders were smart. They allowed the federal government to deficit spend to compensate for the United States of America.
I want to talk about the minimum wage, gentlemen. Mr. Vice President.
You know,
we are talking
McDonald's
about
Farmer and
salaries,
BPR, I'm looking
business
around
owners these days.
and I don't find
Do
that.
you think this is
Here it
the
is.
time to
It's a CDC
raise the
study.
minimum wage? You, of course,
I will,
support a federal minimum
Hang
wage.
on.
do, because
Fact check.
one of the
Does
things
the
we're gonna
CDC
have to
study
do is
show
we're gonna
85% of
bail them
COVID
out, too.
patients
We should be
wore
bailing them
masks?
out.
Not exactly.
Those
That's
small
what the study
businesses.
showed.
You got 1 in 6 of them going under. They're not going to
all right, so this is I'm going to give you the link,
a package that allows us to be able to
reviewing,
PPP,
or at least
money
criticizing the
supposed to
study.
go to
At least it
help
gives you
them
the
do everything
study.
from
So here it
organize how
comes.
they can deal with their
I
businesses,
found
open
it.
safely. Schools,
There it
how
is.
they can make
So you can
classrooms
click through on that.
smaller, how they can hire more teachers, how they can put ventilation systems.
so it was a
in.
CDC study.
They need the help.
Ashley,
Businesses
click
as
through on
well
that
as the schools need the
that
help.
link I just
But
put up
this-
there, and
these guys
you'll
will
see
not
it,
help them.
and you'll see the
It's not
study. That's an article attacking
We
the
are gonna
study.
move
So
on to immigration, but I want to
For small businesses by raising the minimum wage, that's not helping. I think it should be a state option. Alabama is different than New York. New York.
Yeah,
is different
the
from
15 minutes
Vermont.
seems to be the
Every state
necessary
is
amount of time
different.
around somebody with COVID in order to get it. That's where 15 minutes come from. It's just a threshold number.
How are you helping your small businesses when you're forcing wages? What's going to happen, and what's been proven to happen, is when you do that, these small businesses fire many of their
You
employees.
said you're going to consider raising the federal minimum wage to $15.
Yes, I see George is telling me that.
Consider raising the federal
Oh, and
minimum
Casey
wage
says
to
I need a shot.
$15.
Now, not here, not now.
To an
No,
extent.
no, no.
But
In a
I really
second
like
administration?
what I read in a second administration, but not to a level that's going to put all these businesses out of business. It should be a state option.
Terry,
Look,
wear masks.
in
I agree with
different
you.
Places, I know different places, they're all different. Some places,
well-
$15 is not so bad. In other places, other states, $15 would
Okay,
be
President Trump, thank you.
Hot garbage. It, on average, takes 4 treatments in 5 years to get 1 year of sobriety. So keep
People
going.
making $6,
And you
$7
go to a
an
program
hour.
called
These
Al-Anon and
first
get a sponsor.
responders, we all clap
Critical,
for as
critical,
they come down the
critical.
street because they've allowed us to make it. What's happening?
BPR, what do you make of
They
that article?
deserve a minimum wage of $15. Anything below that puts you below the poverty level.
Here goes back
And
to the
there is
minimum
no
wage
evidence
thing.
that when you raise the
And-
minimum wage, businesses go out of business. That is simply not true.
We're going to talk about immigration. We're going to talk about immigration now, gentlemen.
It's true that
And
businesses
we're
don't
gonna
go out of
talk about
business, but they do
feminism in
reduce
this
their employee
context.
burden.
Mr. President, your administration separated children from their parents at the border at least
And
4,000
$15 an hour is
kids.
not,
You've since
nothing
reversed
you know,
your
anyway. I mean,
zero-tolerance
it's
policy,
people
but
can't
the
live on
United
that such
States
as it
can't
is.
locate the parents of more than 500 children. So how will these families ever be reunited?
No, I
Children
don't,
are
McDonald's
brought
Pharma.
here by coyotes and lots of bad people.
I don't think the poverty level will
And they're
change.
brought here and they use.
It's really not in
these
Los
to get
Angeles,
into
not
our
in California.
country. We now
That's for
have
sure.
as strong a border as we've ever had. We're over 400 miles of brand new wall.
Agree, Dylan.
You see the numbers, and we let people in, but they have to come in legally, and they come in through
But how
America.
will you reunite
Let me
these
just tell
kids
you,
with their
let me
families,
just say,
Mr.
they
President?
built cages. You know, they used to say, I built the cages. And then they had a picture.
Eli suspended their COVID vaccine tests, and then as that happens in vaccine studies all the time. They freeze trial, they look at what happened, and they go back into the study, which I believe they've already ramped back up
Do you
again.
have a plan to reunite the kids?
Yes, we're working on it we're trying very hard. But a lot of these kids come out without the parents.
So
They come
Terry,
out
you're
through
sort of
cartels
a
and through
libertarian.
coyotes and through
I get that.
gangs.
Vice President Biden, let me bring you into this conversation. Quick response and then another question to you.
These 500 plus kids.
Any
came
chance of me and
with
Christina P
parents.
taking live calls again on After
They
Dark? Sure,
separated
we can
them
do
off
that,
the
Jenna. We
border
can do that.
To make it a disincentive to come to.
How do I
the
exercise during quarantine? It's not easy if you don't have access to
And
weights.
guess what? They cannot, it's not coyotes didn't bring them over. Their parents were with them. They got separated from their parents.
Yeah.
And it makes us a laughing stock and violates every notion of who we are as a nation.
Let me ask you a follow-up
Kristen,
question.
they did it. We changed the policy.
Your response
They
to
did
that?
it.
We
changed.
did not
They built the
separate
cages.
the- They,
Who built the cages,
let's,
Joe?
let's talk about
Who
what we're
built the
talking about.
cages,
Let's
Joe?
talk about what we're talking about. What happened? Parents were ripped, their kids were ripped from their arms.
Thank you,
and separated.
Siege Le
And now
Dubrow.
They cannot find over
Ledrow?
500 sets of those parents. And those
Dylan, are they really going to have the vaccine within next
Nowhere
month?
to go.
They will have it for
Nowhere to
somebody,
go.
I bet you, within the next 2
It's
months.
criminal.
I bet you. I don't know about by election,
criminal.
but
Let
next 2
me
months.
ask you
So they
about.
say this, they went
10
down, we
seconds
brought
and 90
reporters, everything. They are so well taken care of. They're in facilities that were so clean.
But some of them
They've gotten
haven't been
such good-
reunited.
But just ask one question. Who built the cages? I'd love you to ask them that. Who built the cages?
Let me ask about your immigration policy, Mr. Vice President. The Obama administration did fail to deliver immigration reform that the key promise during the administration. It also presided over record deportations as well as family detentions at the border before changing course. So why should voters trust you with an immigration overhaul now?
Because it made a mistake. It took too long.
I guessed
to get
it, Terry. I guessed
Too
it.
long to get it right. I'll be president of the United States, not vice president of the United States. And the fact is, I've made it very clear. Within 100 days, I'm going to send to the United States Congress a pathway to citizenship for over 11 million undocumented people. And all
I've been in
those
favor of that right
so-called
along.
Dreamers,
Like we should
those DACA kids,
do
they're
something
going
to
be
make the
immediately
process of
certified again to
becoming
be
a
able to stay in
citizen
this country.
streamlined
Put on
or
the path
more
citizenship.
rational.
The idea that
Not
they
to
are
saying that
being
everybody
sent
should
away
necessarily
Scotty,
be
they
allowed
won't
in,
do
but
that. is
The
they're going
process
to a
should
country
be
they've never
a
seen
lot easier.
before. I can
agree with
imagine
that.
you're 5 years old, your parents are taking you across the Rio Grande River, and it's
All right,
illegal.
I think that's it.
And you say, oh, no,
Susan, I'm
Mom,
officially
I'm not gonna
toast.
go.
Okay.
They bet
Are you? Oh, wait,
over
Susan's.
20,000 are first
Susan, all right.
responders.
Susan first wants to know why anybody would want to be president.
We owe
Yeah.
them. We owe them.
Christian, he had 8 years to do what he said he was going to do.
Christine, I don't think Biden is weak. I don't think there's anything like that going
We
on.
got rid of catch and release. We got rid of a lot of horrible things that they put in and that they lived with. But he had 8 years he was.
Yeah,
vice
B World,
president.
I mean, whoever that was,
He did nothing
AstraZeneca is
except
ramping up
build
again next week.
cages to keep children in.
Vice President Biden, your response.
Terry says she definitely doesn't want to be president.
If in fact you had a family came across and they were arrested, they in fact were given a date.
Rational
to show
revolution,
up for a
Tyler.
hearing. They were
Absolutely.
released. And guess what? They showed up for a hearing. And this is the first president in the history of the United States of America that's anybody seeking asylum has to do it in another country. That's never happened before in America.
Somebody's saying future. Is that you saying that? The $1 million book deal is the only reason? I'm not even sure that nobody reads books anymore, so I'm not sure people get that.
Why I deserve it under American law. They're sitting in squalor on the other side of the river.
Yeah, where's Kanye?
Trump, your response,
So
30
important.
seconds, and then we'll
It
move on.
just shows that he has no understanding of immigration of the laws. Catch and release is a disaster. A murderer would come in, a rapist would come in, a very bad person would come in. We would take their name. We have to release them into our country. And then you say they come back. Less than 1% of the people come back. We have to send ICE out and Border Patrol out to find them. We would say, come back in 2 years, 3 years. We're going to give you a court case. You need Perry Mason. We're going to give you a court case.
Perry
When
Mason.
you say they come back, they don't come back, Joe. They
Maybe
never
we
come
should.
back.
This should be like Mystery Theater 2000. You know.
I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ, they might come back.
Okay, President Trump, and then we're gonna move on.
I do think this moderator is doing an amazing job, though. Amazing.
Always telling you sick
Yeah.
Well, check it out. They don't come back.
Check it out.
All right, let's move on.
But we don't have to worry about it.
Next
They
section.
terminated it, so we don't have to worry about
Let's
it.
move on to the next
And yet
section.
525 kids not knowing where in God's name they're going to be and lost their parents.
Go ahead.
All right, let's talk about our next section, which is race in America. And I want to talk about the way Black and Brown Americans experience race in this country. Part of that experience is something called the talk.
Yes, Tom
It
Cigar.
happens regardless of class and income. Parents who feel they have no choice.
Why does
but to
inflation
prepare their
exist?
children for the
Because
chance that they
people
could be
start to
targeted,
believe
including by
that
the
if they
police,
don't buy
for no
something
reason
now,
other
it's
than
going to
the
cost
color
more
of their
tomorrow.
skin. Mr. Vice
And
President, in the
prices,
next 2 minutes,
so they
I
start-
want you to speak
they start,
directly to these families.
accelerating.
Do you
I mean,
understand
I
why
remember
these
the
families
psychology of it.
fear
I
for
was
their
in it
I do.
back in the
I do.
70s, and the idea
My
people
daughter
always would
is
say,
social
you
worker,
got to get that,
and,
you got to get hard goods, you
she's
got to buy
also
houses, you got to buy
written a lot
things
about
right
this.
away
She's
because
a
they're going up so
graduate
fast,
from
and that
Pennsylvania.
drives the demand, and that increases
know,
the acceleration of the price. So.
One of the reasons why I ended up working on the east side of Wilmington, Delaware, which is 90% African American, was to learn more about what was going on. What I never had to tell my daughter, if she's pulled over, make sure she puts for a traffic stop, put both hands on top of the wheel and don't reach for the glove box because someone may shoot you. But a black parent, no matter how wealthy or how poor they are, has to teach their child when you're walking down.
By the way,
street,
for all of you,
have
don't reach
hoodie
for the
on,
glove
go
box.
across
I don't
the
care who
street.
you are, you could get
Making
shot
sure
by
that
cops
you,
if
in
that's.
fact, if you
I mean,
get
that's
pulled
don't
over,
reach for the. I mean, you know what I mean. Like keep your. That's everybody. The cops get a little
Because
crazy
you
about.
are, in fact, the victim, whether you're a person making $300,000 a year person or someone who's on food stamps. The fact of the matter is there is institutional racism in America. And we have always said, we've never lived up to it. We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women are created equal. But guess what?
Susan, we'll find our way through this. She's saying there's no winning. She's so sad. Come on, we'll find our way through.
Further and further to inclusion, not exclusion. This is the first president to come along and says that's the end of that. We're not going to do that anymore. We have to provide for economic opportunity, better education, better health care.
Okay, Susan, do you get your
better
answers?
access
Are we
to
good now?
schooling,
Can I wrap up?
better access to opportunity to borrow money to start.
Is there going to be a Susan story about being pulled over? Is there something we should be telling people?
As to how to do those things.
Oh, here comes.
Yes, I was pulled over and I had a fake gun in my glove compartment.
Oh,
as it is
from Halloween,
from violence.
And
right?
yeah, I got
Yeah.
thrown in the back of a
Same
police
question
car.
to you, and let me remind you
Fast.
of the question I would like you to speak directly
Yeah.
to these families. Do you understand?
Newport Beach, right in front of the place where I work.
Yes, I do.
Tyler, I do think
again,
Mr.
he's been in
Biden
government
is
47 years.
adequate,
He
is
never
okay
did a
for
thing
4 years. I
except
think
in
if his
1994,
I was worried at first. I
when he
wasn't sure what was
did
going on with
such
him.
harm
I think he's just
to the
old,
black community.
and that's fine.
And they were called, and he called them super predators. And he said that. He said it, super predators. And they kept never.
Daniel likes that I'm staying in. I'm hanging in with this.
Your crime bill.
I guess I'm having more fun with you guys than if I were actually watching this thing. Because if I were watching it, I'd be like,
And
ugh.
the exception of Abraham Lincoln, possible exception, but the exception of
Okay,
Abraham Lincoln.
all right.
Nobody.
But I need to be.
What I've done. Criminal justice reform.
Oh,
And Joe didn't.
all right.
I don't even think they tried because they had no chance at doing it. They might have wanted to do it, but if you had to see the arms I had to twist,
Jan, what's highly questionable?
it was not a pretty picture, and everybody knows it, including
Bobby,
some very
funny.
liberal people that cried in my office. They cried in the Oval
What's he
Office.
talking about now?
2 weeks
I've
later,
lost
said,
him.
We have to
I've
defeat
lost
him.
him.
Criminal justice reform, prison reform, opportunity zones with Tim Scott, a great senator from South Carolina.
Really, there's only 20 minutes
He came
left
in
in this
with
whole thing?
incredible
They're only
idea
going for an hour and a half?
opportunity zones. It's one of the most
Yeah.
successful programs.
Yeah.
People don't talk about it. Tremendous investment.
I know we have. That's why I say I'm just like,
The
yeah.
Black and Hispanic communities. And then
Okay, I guess here's the question we should be asking people. Who's winning this debate?
after 3 years of fighting to the
Who's winning?
I love
What do you guys
some of these
think?
guys. They were great. They came
GC, I'm
in
with you. I just feel bad.
and they said, "It's not
Greetings,
why do you
Martin.
keep coming back?" Because we
Uh,
have no funding. I said, "You don't have to come
I
back every
think
year.
Cole,
You have to
he
come
can
back."
serve for
Because
4 years.
President
I think he
Obama
can.
Would never give them long-term funding.
Yeah,
And
I'm
they
still in
did.
California time, but I'm
10
kind of weirdly
long-term
jet lagged.
funding,
I've been
and
kind
I
of
gave
not
them
right
more
all
money
day.
than they asked
Yeah,
for
one
because
fat
they
ninja,
said,
the
"I
pillows
think
are for the
we
pillow
need
talk thing we were
And I said,
supposed to have
"Okay,
done, which we didn't.
this is
Oh, people are saying
amazing
Trump
something
won
like
this.
Because I got very friendly with
I
them.
thought Biden,
And
yeah,
they let me
Mamel
like
says
them.
Biden. I
But
thought
I
Biden
stayed
been pretty
Colleges
clear,
and
pretty
universities.
clear in
Voters
his,
know about both of you.
Trump's just doing better than you
Response to that,
expected.
Vice Mayor.
And Biden's been nice and clear in some of his answers, I saw. Moderator's winning too, Gene, I agree. She's the big winner.
2000 though.
It's a truce or is it a poll? You know, a push, a push. Is it a
This
push?
is the guy who.
Here we go. More people saying Biden is winning.
There's not enough people in jail.
Uh,
There's not enough people in
they
jail.
think Susan is
Go on
winning.
my website, get the quote.
Joe
the
Biden
date
is a
when he
joke.
said,
I don't think
"Not
it's a
enough people."
joke.
He talked
Tyler.
about
Oh wait, who is that? Cole?
marauding
No, wait, who?
gangs, young gangs.
Who said that?
The people who are going to maraud our
He sure is a
cities.
politician,
This is
though.
a
That's
guy
for
who in the
sure.
Central Park Five,
La
5 innocent
Mal-
black kids, he continued to
Malita,
push
La
for making
Malita.
sure that they got the death penalty. None
Who do I think is winning?
none of them were guilty.
I
of
think
what the
I don't think this is going to persuade anybody at all.
Look, and talk
I
about
think
he-
everyone will walk away. Here's what I think. I think everyone will leave this debate
20
feeling
people.
better about the
20 people
country
since.
because they're both
We
being
committed over 1,000 people.
rational recovery participants.
1,000. The
They're being
very law
civil.
he's
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about
Garth,
is the
some
law that
Daryl
was
says America's winning. I
initiated
agree.
by Barack Obama.
I think
And
I
secondly,
think
we're
people
in a
that
situation
like
here
Biden are
where
going to say he was
we-
great
the federal
and he was
prison
clear
system
and
produced like
they threw some
38,000
real
people
zingers, some real
under
arrows, real
And one
delivered
of the
some good
solutions
blows.
there should be
I think people
no-
that like Trump
no minimum
like the way
mandatories
he
in
is,
the
and
law.
this is him.
That's why I'm offering
Right, and so this is
$20 billion
just
to states
when he was
to
first running in
state
2016,
law
I was very
to eliminate
confused by that.
mandatories.
I kept going, what
They
is
set up
what
jail
is it? What is it you're
courts
what is it you're
jail
reacting to?
because they have
And
a
whatever
drug
that
problem.
is
They
kind
should
of
go
on
into
display tonight. I
rehabilitation,
think so. You're
not
going to
to
see
jail.
the
We should
Trump supporters
fundamentally change the
rallying
system, and that's
around
what I'm
him.
gonna do.
I predict.
Why didn't he do it
Whether
4
who,
years
you know
ago?
whether that
Why
who
didn't
that
he do
translates
it 4
to in
years
terms
ago?
of
Even less than that.
who
Why
gets to
didn't
win.
my vice president-
I don't know.
You keep talking about all these things. you're
Linda, they're
gonna
not
do,
fighting
you're
like
gonna do
kids.
this.
Yeah,
But
they
you
may
were there
start.
A short time ago, and you guys did nothing. We did a job.
BPR, it's not about believing the
Because
lies.
of
It's
you.
all
I ran
rhetorical
because of Barack
excess.
Obama.
All right,
If
here we
you
go.
did a poor job. If I thought you did a good job, I would have never run. I would have never run. I ran because of you. I'm looking at you
Thanks,
now.
Elena.
You're a politician. I ran because of you.
All right, Vice President Biden,
What?
your response to that, and then I do have some questions. for you.
Well, I'll tell you what, I hope he does look at me because what's happening here is, you know who I am, you know who he is. You know his character, you know my character. You know our reputations for honor and telling the truth.
Well,
I'm anxious to
neither
have
of
this
them.
race.
Neither of
I'm
them.
anxious to see this take place. I am character of the country is on the ballot. Our character is on the ballot. Look at us closely.
That's a
Let me
good way
ask you
for him to
questions,
frame it.
please. Respond,
If
and then we're
this
gonna
stuff
follow.
is true about Russia, Ukraine, China, other countries, Iraq, if this is true, then he's a corrupt politician. So don't give me the stuff about how you're this innocent baby. Joe, they're calling you a corrupt politician.
Nobody.
President Trump, I want to stay on the issue. of
Rush
race. We're
Revolution.
talking about the issue.
Susan likes this
President
part.
Trump,
I don't
we're
know.
talking about race right now, and I
What do you
want
like?
to stay
What
on
do you
the
like?
issue of race. President Trump,
I
you
have to
just
respond to that.
Melissa, I'm not really doing new patients
50
right now.
Former national intelligence folks
I'm sort of full
who
up.
said that what this he's accusing me of is a Russian plant. They have said that this has
Matthew, I'm reading your comment about people who vote for Trump don't like him but like America. I think I know what you're talking about.
Nobody.
They're worried about
believes except
America.
that
They're sort of
he
a
and his
scared
good friend
vote or-
Rudy Giuliani.
You mean
Uh-oh,
the left
Giuliani.
is now another Russia hoax?
And that's exactly what.
Is this
that's
where you're
exactly
going? Uh-oh.
what.
This is where he's going. The laptop is Russia,
Gentlemen,
Russia.
I want to stay on the issue of race.
You have
okay?
to be kidding. Here we
Mr.
go again with Russia.
We're going to continue on the issue of race. Mr. President,
believe
you've
that.
described the Black Lives Matter movement as a symbol of hate. You've shared a video of a man chanting white power to millions of your supporters. You've said that Black professional
That's crazy.
athletes exercising their First Amendment rights should be fired. What do you say to Americans who say that kind of language from a president is contributing to a climate of hate and racial strife?
Well, you have to understand, the first time I ever heard of Black Lives Matter, they were chanting pigs in a blanket, talking about police. Pigs, talking about our police. Pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon. I said, that's a horrible thing. And they were marching down the street. That was my
Juan, the
first
vaccine will not be mandatory.
glimpse
I don't
of
see
Black
that.
Lives Matter. I thought it was a terrible thing. As far as
TC, turn the clock back
my
at what sense?
relationships with all people, I think I have great relationships with all people. I am the least racist person in this room.
But what do you say to Americans who are concerned by that
Okay.
rhetoric?
I don't
by
know.
the
I mean, I don't know
media?
what to say. I got criminal justice reform done and prison reform and opportunity zones. I took care of black colleges and universities. I don't know what to say. They can say anything. I mean, they can say anything. It makes me sad because I am the least racist person. I can't even see the audience because it's so dark, but I don't care who's in the audience. I'm the least racist person in this room.
Okay, Vice President Biden, let me ask you very quickly, and then I have a follow-up question for you.
Abraham Lincoln here is one of the most racist presidents we've had in modern history.
Abraham
Pours
Lincoln.
fuel on every single
Oh, this is really
racist
interesting.
fire. Every single one. Started off.
All right,
with
it's almost
campaign
over.
Coming down the escalator saying he's getting rid of those Mexican rapists. He's banned Muslims because they're Muslims. He has moved.
EMDR
around,
carry for PTSD
made
is very, very good.
everything
I do
worse
recommend EMDR
across
for
the
that.
board. He says to about the poor boys. Last time we were on stage here, he said, I told him to stand down and stand ready. Come on. This guy.
Come
has
on,
a
man,
dog
that's
whistle about
classic.
Big as a foghorn.
President Trump, I'm going to give you 10 seconds.
Come on, man.
You made a reference to Abraham Lincoln. Where did that come in? I mean, you said Abraham Lincoln. Where did that? No. I said not since Abraham Lincoln has anybody done what I've done for the black community.
And I'm
I
saying-
didn't say I'm Abraham Lincoln. I said not since Abraham Lincoln.
It's interesting
has
he's repeating
anybody
all
done
that
what I've done
because
for
that's
the
what he
black
wanted to repeat.
community. Now you have done nothing other than the crime bill, which put
Oh, God.
tens of thousands of black men, mostly in jail.
That actually sounded like they're really upset by it
Does
to
anybody
hear
know what's
that.
happening with the voting right now?
Let me ask
They
Vice
remember
President
they've
Biden.
treated them
about-
very, very badly.
The-
Just
the-
take a look at what's happening out there.
Vice President Biden, let me give you a chance to respond within this
Oh.
context. Crime bills that was supported in the 80s
I-
and 90s contributed
Old
to
white
the
guys.
incarceration of tens of thousands of young black
You know what I
men
mean?
who
It's
had
like-
small amounts of drugs in their possession. Their sons,
I know 'em
their
well.
brothers,
I know them
their
well.
fathers, their uncles, whose families are still to this day, some of them suffering the consequences. So speak to those families. Why should they vote for
Yes,
you?
I would.
One of the things is that in the 80s, we passed 100%, all 100 senators voted for it, a bill on.
He's going back around that
drugs
crime bill.
And how to deal with drugs.
Hey,
It
that was a
mistake.
terrible thing. It was a
I've been
mistake.
trying to
Yeah.
change the sentence, particularly
That was
the portion
bad.
on cocaine. That's why I've been arguing
Yep.
that in fact
He's
we
right.
should not send anyone to jail for a pure drug offense. They
I'm
should
with
be
him on
going
that.
into treatment
I'm with him on that.
Across the board.
If you can get,
What we should be
I know, but you gotta,
That's why I set up
you gotta
drug
actually
testing
have
funded
people.
by Republican
You
friends.
have to actually
They
bring them to
should
treatment. In
not
California,
be
we
going
don't
to
do that.
jail for a drug or an alcohol problem. They should
I sound
go
racist,
into
Van? How?
treatment.
Just by
That's what we've been
pointing
trying
out
to
these are
do.
two old
That's
white
what I'm
guys
going to
talking
get
about
done,
race? It's
because
like,
American people have.
I mean, that's what it is. It's two old white guys.
It was a mistake
Yeah.
to pass those laws.
Yeah, B-World, Kamala did have
We're
kind of
not
a
in
problematic
agreement.
record for that too.
But why didn't he get it done? See, it's all talk, no action with these politicians. Why didn't he get it done?
So it's interesting.
That's what I'm
He's
gonna do
setting
when I
himself
become
out.
president.
This is how he got
I'm gonna
elected, by saying, look, I'm not a
vice president,
politician.
Obama as your
So,
president.
but now he is a
For
politician.
8 years. Why didn't you get it done? For 8 years to get it done. Now you're
TC,
saying
put them in
it's
treatment,
done
but they don't.
because
That's the problem. Or they don't
the
keep them in
law
treatment. That's
changes.
the
We got a
problem.
lot of it done. We released
Get
38,000,
anything
we got
done.
38,000 prisoners left from.
You got nothing done.
38,000 prisoners were released from federal prison.
Who would
We
Fed
have-
Smoker vote
There
for?
were
Good
over
question.
1,000 people who were given clemency. In fact, we're the ones that put in the legislation saying we could look at pattern and practice of police departments and what they were doing, how they were conducting themselves.
Oh, yeah, we have another
I could
Love
go
Boat we
on,
can watch
but
tonight.
We began the process. We began the
Where is
process.
Adam? Yeah, Adam and I could do a little.
That's
Too bad
what
we
I'm
got to wait 4 more
doing.
years before he and I get
Election
together to do this
and
again.
change his terrible policy.
Can I make one of the candidates believe in mental health one? I think they both do. They've tried. They've been trying.
Ago. Why didn't you do it? You just said, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. You put tens of thousands of mostly black young men in prison. Now you're
Uh-oh,
saying
toxic
you're gonna
retain-
get-
whoa,
you're
whoa,
gonna
whoa.
go and do that. Why didn't you get
What are
it done?
you
had
talking
8
about
years
there
to
with that
go.
MRI?
You know why, Joe? Because you're all talk and no action.
All right, Vice
MRI with
President, and then we're gonna
contrast.
move on to the next section.
Very rare for there to be contrast reactions. 30 million suffered adverse reactions. Yes, but most adverse reactions are very mild. Very mild.
All right.
No one's helping fix the
We're gonna
problem.
move on to our next section.
Debbie, unfortunately, it's not that big a problem. We agree there should be very almost no serious reactions, but you, unfortunately, if you want to look for tumors in the head, you have to add some
You
gadolinium.
both have very different visions on climate change. President Trump, you say that environmental.
I don't have El Padrino. I have America for the win. I have the moderator for the win. Moderator for the win for sure. I think it's just, and I'm impressed with Joe Biden's performance. I think it was very, very good. I think it was very good.
You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
So we have the Trillion Trees program. We have so many different programs. I do love.
I am still working out. We've got Bush.
Is the cleanest, crystal clear water. The cleanest air.
Do we still do
have
the You Live
best
podcast? We don't
lowest
anymore,
number
Barb.
in
We don't do that one
carbon
anymore.
Emissions, which is a big standard that I notice Obama goes with all the time.
Hot garbage. I'm guessing that is a joke. CT contrast, worse reactions. Helena, I agree with you. The CT contrast can really cause some reactions. Gadolinium almost never does. Almost never.
Under this administration, we are working so well with industry, but here's what we can't do. Look at China, how filthy it is. Look at Russia. Look at India. It's filthy. The air is filthy. The Paris Accord, I took us out because we were going to have to spend trillions of dollars, and we were treated very unfairly. When they put us in there, they did us a great disservice. They were going to take away our businesses. I will not sacrifice tens of millions of jobs, thousands and thousands of companies because of the Paris Accord. It was so unfair. China doesn't kick in until 2030. Russia goes back to a low standard, and we kicked in right away.
Talking about
It
the
would have
Paris
been-
Accord.
It
Yeah.
would have destroyed our businesses. So,
COVID-19, 1,000
you ready?
deaths,
We have done
horrific.
an incredible
Definitely
job
enjoyed it.
environmentally. We have the cleanest air, the cleanest water, and the best carbon emission standards that we've seen in many, many years.
Come on, man. Thank you,
Vice
Kamala.
President
We need to improve our industries.
Vice President
Yeah,
Biden, 2
yeah.
minutes.
Maybe
to
fill a
you
talk on
on
election. It's a good idea.
Climate change, climate warming, global warming.
Uh-oh,
is an
Candace, sorry
existential
about
threat to
that.
humanity. We have a moral obligation to deal with it. And we're told by all the leading scientists in the world, we don't have much time. We're going to pass the point of
Yes,
no
we've
return
got to go to
within the next
nuclear.
8
This is
to
something,
10
this is political for me.
Fluorine
Nuclear,
is
fourth
the
generation nuclear are
eliminating all the
amazing,
regulations that were
and
put in
carbon
by us
scrubbing
to
technologies.
clean up
We've
the
got to
climate,
get that. We've
clean
got to
up,
get that.
To limit limit emissions will put us in a position where we're going to be in real trouble.
Yeah, Dave Fire,
Here's where we had a
I'm not
great
gonna, we're
opportunity.
gonna wrap this
I was
up, I
able to
think.
get both
Let's kind of wrap this up. I think
environmental
they're,
organizations as well as labor. People worried about jobs
they're
to
kind of ending this
support
thing right
my
now,
climate
Susan, so.
plan. Because
What
it
books do I
does
recommend?
will create
I'm reading a book right now
new,
called
good-paying jobs.
Shrink, I think it's called. It's about the history of psychiatry. It's very good. It's very eye-opening. I've
50,000
lived a lot of it, and I understand it a little better now. by a guy
so that we
named
can own the electric
Jeffrey,
car market
like
in the future.
Levinson,
In
something
the
like that.
meantime, China
He's
is
a
doing
psychiatrist.
that. We're gonna be in
And then I'm reading
position
another
where
book
we're
called
going to
Albion's
censor that we're going
Seed,
to take
Albion
4
Seed,
million
which essentially
billion
talks about the
buildings
3 major
and 2 million
migrations out of
existing
Britain
homes
into the United
retrofit
States,
them
and
so
how
they
the
don't leak as much
culture
energy,
and
saving
genetics
hundreds of
of those
millions
people that
barrels
came
of
here
oil in the process
really set
and
the stage
creating
for everything we're
significant
dealing
number
with
of
now.
jobs.
So it's
And by
interesting.
the way, the whole idea of what this is all going to do,
Let me
it's
see
going
if
to
there's any
create
COVID data
millions
to
of
go
jobs.
over.
And it's going to clean the environment. Our health and our jobs are at stake. That's what's happening. And what right now, by
Man,
the
nothing's
way,
gonna
Wall
clean the
Street firms
environment
indicated that
fast.
my plan will in
Okay.
fact create
See the
18.6
country.
million jobs, 7 million more than his. This is from Wall Street. And I'll create
I wish that were
$1
true.
trillion
That
more in economic growth
Tends up,
than his
yeah, it's trying to
proposal does.
force,
Not on
trying to
climate,
force
just on
certain
the
things. And when
economy.
you force
President's
economies,
on
it
They came out
never works.
and said very strongly, $6,500 will be taken away from families under his plan, that his plan is an economic disaster. If you look at what he wants to do, if you look at his.
Yeah, good point. You could
You know who developed it? AOC +3. They know nothing about the climate. I mean, she's got a good line of stuff, but she knows nothing about the climate. And they're all hopping through hoops with
What's-
AOC +3. Look, their real plan costs $100 trillion. If we had the best year in the history of our country for 100 years, we would not even come close to a number like that. When he says buildings, they want to take buildings down because they want to make bigger windows into smaller windows.
I agree.
As far as
Florme,
they can
regenerative
say, if you had no
agriculture.
window,
I agree
it
with
would
you.
be a lovely thing.
Things
This is the
that,
craziest
yeah,
plan
it's funny. They
that
don't want
anybody
to
has
look at
ever seen.
all
And
options.
this
My thing
wasn't
is we
done
need to
by
take care of this. Look
smart
at
people.
everything.
This
Nuclear,
wasn't
regenerative
done by
agriculture, all
anybody.
that.
Frankly,
I agree with
don't even
you.
know how it can be good politically. They want to spend $100 trillion. That's their real number. He's trying to say it was 6. It's $100 trillion. They want to knock down buildings and build new buildings with little, tiny, small windows. I mean, and many other things.
Okay.
And many other things.
Let me have the vice president
It
respond,
is
and we're running out of
crazy.
time, and we have a lot
It
more
will
questions to
destroy
get
our
to.
country.
Really? A lot
Let's hear
more
from the vice
questions?
president. I have a number more
I
questions.
don't know where it comes from. I don't know where he comes up with these numbers.
Wait.
$100 trillion. Give me a break. This plan is endorsed by every major environmental group and every labor group. Labor, because they know the future lies. The future lies in us being able to breathe, and they know there are good jobs in getting us there. And by the way, the fastest growing industry in America
Biden is? Why?
is the electric, solar energy and wind.
Because they're getting into territory that neither of them
Windmills.
really
It's
have
the
a
fastest growing
good
jobs,
foundation.
and
So
they
it
pay
gets a
good
little-
prevailing wages,
it gets a little
45,
frustrating to
50
listen to them
bucks
talk
an
about it.
hour. We can grow and we can be cleaner if we go the route.
Because he's angry, or
President Trump, please respond, and then I have
We
to.
are
You know when you
energy
say
He's
people,
creeped out.
people have crazy eyes?
We
That was
don't
like
need all
crazy
of these
eyes.
countries that we had to fight war over because we needed their energy. We are energy.
Yes, yes.
independent.
I'm not
I know
pro
more
Trump,
about
but I
wind
just
than you do.
feel the
Extremely
crazy eyes.
expensive, kills all the birds.
anybody else see that?
It's very intermittent. It's got a lot
I
of
couldn't see it
problems,
'cause my
and they
back
happen
is
to
to the
make the
screen.
windmills in both Germany and China, and the
You know, you
fumes
said
coming up. If
we
you're
were
a
like-
believer in carbon emission, the fumes coming up to make these massive windmills is more than anything that we're talking about with natural gas, which is very clean. One other thing.
If I may
Solar,
say that.
I love solar, but solar doesn't quite have it yet. It's not powerful yet to really run our big, beautiful factories that we need to compete with the world. So
False.
it's all a pipe dream. But you know what we'll do? We're going to have the greatest economy in the world. But if you want to kill the economy, get rid of your oil industry. You want, and what about fracking?
All right, let me allow Vice President Biden to respond.
Yeah, that'd be well, it's a good idea.
Oppose fracking.
You said it on tape.
I did. Show the tape. Put it on your website.
Put it on.
Put it on the website. The fact of the matter is, it's flat lying.
Would you rule out?
Oh,
banning
boy.
fracking?
I do
Crazy
rule
eyes on
out
both
banning
sides.
fracking because the answer we need.
Can I go now? We had enough.
Other industries. to
No, Brian, it's not okay to smoke
transition
crack
all the
once a
way
day.
A complete zero emissions by 2025. What I will
can't
do
get
with
to zero
fracking over
emissions by
time
2025.
is make sure
That's
that we
impossible.
can capture the emissions.
Not without nuclear.
From the
Not without
fracking.
nuclear.
Capture the emissions from gas. We can do that, and we can do that by investing.
Zero
money
emissions in
doing
5
what
years?
is
How are we
the
gonna do that?
transition to that.
Think about
I
that.
have one more question in this pile.
We're a long way off of that.
Against fracking, he said it. I will show that to you tomorrow. I am against fracking. Until he got the nomination, went to Pennsylvania, then he said, but you know what, Pennsylvania? He'll be against it very soon because his party is totally against it.
Fracking on federal land, I said, no fracking and oil on federal
Let
land.
me ask this final
Ooh,
question in this
that's interesting.
section, and then I want to move on to our final section.
I like this. I like this.
People of color are much more likely
moderator.
to live near oil refineries and chemical plants. In Texas, there are families who worry the plants near them are making them sick. Your
Yes,
administration
worried about
has
that.
rolled back regulations on these kinds of facilities. Why should these families give you another 4 years in office?
The families that we're talking about are employed heavily and they're making a lot of money, more money than they've ever made. If you look at the kind
Then
of
they should move
numbers
out
that
of
we
there.
produce for
You
Hispanic,
got to get out of there.
or black, or Asian, it's 9 times greater the percentage gain than it was under, in 3 years, than it was under 8 years of the 2 of them, to put it nicely.
Look into the fourth generation
9
nuclear.
times
You'll
more.
find they're incredibly safe and incredibly
Somebody
effective.
lives- I have not heard
Fourth
the
generation
numbers or
nuclear
the
plants.
statistics
Take a look at them.
that
Small
you're
ones.
saying, but they're making a tremendous amount of money economically. We
No
saved it.
BPR.
And I said
Genetics
it
in
again
terms
a number
of
months
like
ago when
warriors
I
and
was crashing
alcoholism
because of the
and
pandemic. We saved it. We
how
got
they
to one about
aggression
relationship.
and these sorts
We
of
got
characteristics.
Saudi Arabia,
It's
Mexico,
interesting.
and Russia
It's really
to cut
interesting.
back way
So the
back
particular
and save
the
their
group
oil
that came from the
industry. And now
lower
it's very
highlands of
rapid. Now
northern
everybody is
England
very
that
expensive
settled in
and
North
some
Carolina
beautiful-
and came, and essentially the people that came west too. Lots of mental
My response
illness,
is that
essentially.
those people live on
So-
what they call fence lines. She doesn't understand this. They live near chemical plants that in fact pollute, chemical plants and oil plants and refineries that pollute.
Cole, you're
I
wrong
used
on
to
that.
do that
It's
when I
not,
was growing up
the
in
electric
Cleveland,
cars are charged via plants
And
usually
more
powered by
refineries and
coal,
markets hooking
not
oil
oil.
than there is
It's actually
any place,
coal for
including
the most
usually-
part, which is
When my
what the
mom got
fallacy
my
of all
car,
this
when-
is.
When there was first frost, she'd drive me to school, turn in the windshield wiper, there'd be oil slick in the window. That's why so many people in my state were dying and getting cancer. The
Maybe.
fact is, those frontline communities, it doesn't matter
don't
what you're
really
paying,
know that
it
yet.
matters how you keep them safe. What do you do? And you impose restrictions on the pollutions that the pollutants coming out of those fence line communities.
Okay, I have one final.
Fourth generation
question.
nuclear plants is what I said.
Would you close down the
By the way, I would transition from the oil industry, yes.
Oh,
Candace, I'm open to
That
everything.
is
Go
a
ahead.
big statement, because I would stop,
Why would you do that?
because the oil industry pollutes significantly.
I
So
said,
here's the deal, but
That's
you
a
can't
big
do that.
statement.
Well, if you let me finish the statement, because it has to be replaced by renewable energy over
Are
time.
we good? We good to go?
Over time. And I'd stop giving
No.
to the oil industry, I'd stop giving them federal subsidies. You won't give federal subsidies to the gas, excuse me, to the.
It's a Donald Trump.
Solar.
What'd he do?
And wind.
Yeah.
Why are we giving it to oil industry?
we actually do
All right.
to solar and wind.
We have
That's
one
maybe the
final
biggest
question.
statement in terms of business. That's the biggest statement.
Okay.
Because
We have
basically
one
what he's
final
saying
question.
is he is going to
President?
destroy the oil industry. Will you remember that Texas? Will you
Okay.
remember that Pennsylvania, Oklahoma?
Vice President Biden, let me give you 10 seconds to respond, and then I have to get to the question. Vice President Biden.
Ohio.
He takes everything out of context. But
Texas.
the point is, look, we have
North
to
Dakota.
move toward a net zero emissions.
Yes, she does
First
have me
place to do
hostage.
that by
This
the year
name is taken.
2035 is an energy
She won't let me
reduction
go.
by
If I start
2050
blinking my eyes in SOS, would that be
You're
okay?
okay. You're gonna live. He's gonna live. I'll be okay.
Final question. We have
I'm going to rejoin Paris Accord to make China.
Who's my Super Bowl pick? Brian, you're way ahead of me. Maybe the
I
Rams will
would
get
rather
there.
be
And
watching
this
football
first
right now.
question
I know.
Does go to you, President.
When did we flip it
Trump.
to football?
Imagine this is your.
No, Albion's Seed,
What will
it's
you
called.
say in your address to
Albion's
Americans-
Seed
to
was the
Americans
book.
who did not vote for you.
To,
You'll each have 1 minute, starting with you.
This should be the
We
end
have
of
to
this.
make our country
Day
successful as
fire.
it was prior to the plague coming in from China. Now we're rebuilding it and we're doing record numbers, 11.4 million jobs. in a short period of
Candace,
time.
what do you want to discuss? I hear what you're dealing with there. It's
Before the
miserable.
plague came in, just before, I was
I
getting
deal with that
calls
all the
from
time, with
that
people,
were
for people.
Not normally people that would call me. They wanted to get together. We had the best
Mm.
black unemployment numbers in the history of our country. Hispanic, women, Asian, people with diplomas, with no diplomas, MIT graduates, #1 in the class. Everybody had the best numbers.
Okay.
And you know what? The other
Where are we
side
going?
wanted to get together. They wanted to unify. Success is going to bring us together. We are on the road. to
No,
success.
Dave, no,
But
he
I'm
may have the
paying
gene for
taxes,
addiction, but
and
there's
he
no
wants to
evidence of
raise
substance use.
everybody's
He's never had
taxes, and he
alcohol his
wants to
whole
put
life.
New regulations
which is
and
crazy.
everything. He will kill it. If he gets in, you will
Why
have
do
a
headaches
depression
happen?
like
Like what happens in the
you've
head?
never seen.
You,
Your
it depends on
401ks
what
will
kind
go
of
to
headache.
hell,
Sometimes it's
and it'll be
scalp
a very,
tension and
very sad
inflammation.
day for this
Sometimes it's
country.
changes in the vessel
Vice
flow
President
in your
Biden, same
brain.
question to you. What will you say during your
I think this is
inaugural
their
address to
wrapping up here. I
Americans
think
who
this is the
did
end of
not
it.
vote for you?
I will say, I'm an American president. I represent all of you, whether you voted for me or against me. And I'm going to make sure. that
Roy, you were going to
represent-
skip the debate?
I'm gonna give
We
you
got you
hope.
through
We're
it?
going to move. We're going to choose science over fiction. We're going to choose hope over fear. We're going to choose to move forward because we have enormous opportunities to make things better. We can grow this economy.
Flor May,
We can
I
deal
had an
with
eye
systemic
surgery
racism.
that left me
At
with
the
a
same
severe
time,
dry
we can
eye
make
syndrome.
sure that our
And
economy
I don't know why
is being
it's.
run and moved and motivated
All right, I got to
by
listen to Biden.
clean energy, creating millions of new jobs. And that's the fact. That's what we're going to do. And I'm going to say, as I said at the beginning, what is on the ballot here is the character of this country: decency, honor, respect, treating people with dignity, making sure that everyone has an even chance. And I'm going to make sure you get that. You haven't been getting it the last 4 years.
All right, I want to thank you both for a very robust
PK,
hour and a half of
PRK,
fantastic debate.
PRK.
Really appreciate it. President Trump, former Vice President Joe Biden, thank you to Belmont University.
There you go,
for
guys.
hosting us
They were at
tonight.
Belmont, yeah.
And
Okay,
most
it's easy
importantly,
to make
thank you
millions
to
of
those
jobs
watching tonight.
when
Election
millions
day
of
is
jobs have been
November
lost
3rd.
during
Don't
COVID-19.
forget to
So
vote.
that's
Thank
the
you,
one
everyone.
promise he
Have a
can
great
keep.
night.
Who? Which one of them?
Biden.
Ooh, Charo and Sonny Bono on Love Boat right now.
What?
Charo and Sonny Bono on Love Line, so we better get to it. I mean, on Love Boat.
Oh, okay.
All right, so it was fun hanging out with you guys. I didn't get to see very much. I don't have deep thoughts about this. It's not. I don't think a lot. I don't think any minds were changed, but I do appreciate what the moderator did, and that they both behaved themselves, and as such, our political process wins. So, with that, I will say good night, Jeans, mommies. We'll have hopefully a meeting with you tomorrow to give you an update on COVID, and we'll see you then in New York in quarantine day 2.
Into deeply personal areas and
Okay. All right. Bye bye.